Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In my last video, I've explained this chapter 1 GST introduction from ICS study material in detail. So in this video, we'll do the question answers of this chapter from ICS study material itself. Altogether 2 illustrations are there and 10 exercise questions are there. And you will get this PDF link from the description. It's not the same PDF that is given on the site. It is different because I've extracted only the sums portion from that PDF. So if you wish, you can download from the description. Okay, let's start the illustration now. Illustration 1, intrastate supply. In case of local supply of goods or services, the supplier would charge dual GST, that is CGST and SGST, at specified rates on the supply. In case of intrastate supply, as we have discussed earlier, the CGST and SGST is charged. In this sum, rate is assumed as 9%, means 9% SGST and 9% CGST. So what is the scenario given in case 1? See, supply of goods or services by A to B, means in this case supplier is A and recipient is B. Goods or services are supplied by Mr. A to Mr. B. Now what is the value charge for supply is 10,000. Now CGST is 9 at the rate 9% on 10,000, that comes to 900. SGST at the rate 9% on 10,000, that comes to 900. So total price charged by A from B for local supply of goods or services comes to 11,800. Okay, 10,000 plus 900 comes to 11,800. Now this is the amount that is charged. 11,800 is charged from B, means charged from recipient by the supplier. So supplier has charged tax amount also from the from the recipient. So supplier is bound to deposit this tax amount to the respective government account. See what is written over here. The CGST and SGST charged on B for the supply of goods or services will be remitted by A to the appropriate account of the central and state government respectively. A is the first state supplier of goods or services and hence doesn't have credit of CGST, SGST or IGST, as he is the first state supplier, so he will not have the input tax. So altogether means 900 he have to pay to CGST account and 900 to SGST account. Now next one, to SGST means to state government and to central government respectively. Now second case, this is the continuation of the first case only. Now if in first case A supplied to B, in second case B supplied to C. In this case B is the supplier and C is the recipient, and value addition in this case is 20%. So what is written here? See, B will avail credit of CGST and SGST paid by him on the purchase of goods or services and will utilize such credit for being set off against the CGST and SGST payable on the supply of goods or services made by him to C. Now this was the 900. This was the output tax. This was the input tax for Mr. B, for recipient, because in this case when B was supplied to C, he can set off the credit that he has paid earlier, set off the tax that he has paid earlier, this 900 and 900. See, value charge for supply is 20% addition, means 10,000 into 120%, that comes to 12,000. So in this case output tax is CGST at the rate 9%, SGST at the rate 9% comes to 1080. So total price comes to 14,160. This is the price charged by B from C. Okay, in this case C is a recipient. Now B is a supplier, so B is supposed to deposit the tax amount to the respective government account. Now in this case output tax is 1080 CGST and the input tax of Mr. B was CGST 900, so he can avail the credit of input tax and net amount he will pay to the respective government account. Now see how it will get set off. Manner of utilization of input tax credit, I think you all will be able to recall that provision, manner of utilization of input tax credit. In that we discussed that IGST credit will be utilized for payment of ICS, means it will be utilized for payment of input tax. It will be utilized for payment of IGST, then it will be utilized for payment of CGST or SGST in any order. Then SGST credit will be utilized for payment of SGST or then IGST. Then CGST credit will be utilized for payment of CGST, then IGST. So likewise CGST credit is there in the sum and SGST credit is there. So CGST credit will utilize for payment of C, then I. So CGST payable is 1080. So credit of CGST will be used, that is 900. So net comes to 180. Now 180 is we don't have any, like we just have After setting off this 900 CGST credit, we just have SGST credit of 900, and we all know that SGST credit cannot be utilized for this to set off CGST payable. So net tax comes to 180, that is the CGST payable to the central government. Now SGST payable is 1080. So to set off SGST, we can use the credit of SGST, that is 900. So SGST payable to state government is 180. So entire input tax credit is exhausted. We have utilized both CGST, SGST 900. So net tax payable to the state government, central government is 180 each. Now they have written in note that rate is assumed to be 9%. Now combining both the cases means case 2 was the continuation of the first one. So on the basis of these two cases, they have prepared a statement of revenue that is earned by the central and state government. See, supply of goods or services by A to B as a result of the first transaction, what was the revenue that was due to the central and state government? Revenue to central government is 900 and revenue to state government comes to 900. No input tax was there in first scenario. Then second scenario, when goods were supplied from by B to C, in that case net tax for central net tax means net revenue of central government was 180 and net revenue of state government was 180. So total revenue of central government comes to 1080 and revenue to state government is 1080. Okay. So from this sum we can clearly see that GST is levied at all stages, right from the manufacturer level up to the final consumption, with credit of taxes paid at the earlier stages, that is available as set off. Resultantly, only value addition is getting taxed and the tax burden is borne by the final consumer. So this what was stated in the provision. This is clearly reflected in the sum. These all provision that final burden is borne by the consumer, that is 1080 tax, and that is only the ultimate revenue of the central and state government. Okay. So this was the illustration based on intrastate supply. Now second illustration is based on interstate supply. In case of interstate supply of goods or services, the supplier would charge IGST at specified rates on the supply. Now in this case also IGST rate is assumed as 18%. Okay, in CGST, SGST 9% each. Now see the first scenario. It is given supply of goods or services by X of state 1 to A of state 1. Means it's a case of intrastate supply. So value charge for supply of goods or services 10,000 and CGST, SGST 900, that comes to 11. Total value of supply comes to 11,800. That is inclusive of taxes. Now this is the tax charged by X from A. Now X is the first A supplier, so hence doesn't have credit of CGST, SGST or IGST. Now see the second case. This is the continuation of the first one. Now in this, what happens? Supply of goods or services by A of state 1 to B of state 1. Now it is supply takes place between two states, means it's a case of interstate supply, and value addition in this case is 20%. So earlier the value was 10,000, so we have to make 20% addition in that value, that comes to 12,000. And IGST is 18%, so 12,000 into 18% comes to 2160. So total price charged by A from B. In this case B is a recipient, so total price charged from B is 14,160. Okay, 14,160 is inclusive of taxes. Now we have to compute IGST that is payable to the government. This 2160 is not payable to the government because we have to set off the input tax in this, because 2160 A, that is supplier, in this case A is the supplier, A is supposed to pay to the government account this IGST. So he'll not pay 2160, he'll set off his input tax and then he'll pay. So in this case input tax is CGST and SGST 900. See how it will get set off. IGST payable, see the statement, this computation, IGST payable is 2160. Now CGST credit, as we know, CGST credit will be utilized for set off of CGST payable and IGST payable. So C shortcut was CI and for S it was SI. So CGST credit will be utilized for payment of CGST and then IGST. So as in the CGST credit is available in the sum, we don't have CGST payable, so directly we'll set off this amount with IGST payable. So IGST payable 2160 minus CGST 900. Then SGST credit. What was the rule for SGST credit? SGST credit was utilized for payment of SGST payable, or and after that SGST payable is exhausted, means if it's paid fully, then we'll pay IGST. So as in this sum there is no SGST, so we'll pay IGST. So less credit of SGST 900. So entire credit is exhausted. So net amount that is payable to the government, net IGST payable to the central government is 360. So Mr. B is supposed to pay 360 to the government. Now see what they have written. There is one small adjustment in this. The IGST charged on B of state 2. This is, they are talking about the recipient. The IGST charged on B of state 2 for supply of goods or services will be remitted by A of state 1 to the appropriate account of central government. A is supposed to pay to the appropriate account of central government. As he is the supplier, he is collecting the taxes from the recipient, so he will only pay to the respective government account. Now in this case, as we have done the adjustments, see state 1, that is exporting state. State 1 is the exporting state and state 2 is the importing state. So state 1 exporting state will transfer SGST credit of 900 utilized in the payment of IGST to the central government account. As we have utilized the SGST credit of 900, so this is the this credit will be transferred to the respective central account. Means this will be transferred to the central government account. The state 1 exporting state will transfer SGST credit of 900 utilized in payment of IGST to the central government account. Okay. Now third scenario. Now see the third scenario. This is supply of goods or services by B of state 2 to C of state 2. Now in this case B, this is a case of intrastate supply first. Supply is taking place in state 2 only. In this case B is the supplier and C is the recipient. Value addition in this case is 20%. Now what they have written, B will avail credit of IGST paid by him on the purchase of goods or services and will utilize such credit for being set off against CGST and SGST payable on local supply of goods or services made by him to C. Obviously in this case the input tax of B is the IGST 2160. Now see how he will utilize that ITC. Now see first the value is 12,000. See the earlier value, it was 12,000, 10,000 to 120%, that was 12,000. So in this case, in third case, the supply value becomes 12,000 into 120%, that comes to 14,400. Don't forget to take, means by mistake don't take this figure 14,160. We can't take this figure because then it will have double taxation. We have to take 12,000 because 14,160 is inclusive of taxes. Okay. So to remove this cascading effect, we'll take 12,000. Otherwise, we'll charge tax on tax. So value comes to 12,000 to 120%. That comes to 14,400 as it is the local supply. So CGST, SGST at the rate 9% each. That comes to 1296 each. So total price charged by B from C for local supply is 16,992. Now see what is the net amount, net CGST, SGST payable to the government. Now in this case input tax is IGST 2160. Now how will utilize that ITCC? In this case CGST payable is 1296 and we have IGST credit. What was the rule for, what was the manner for utilization of IGST credit? It will be utilized for payment of IGST, then it will be utilized for payment of CGST or SGST in any order. As there is no IGST payable, so straightforward we'll move to CGST. In any order, there means any order means first we can utilize in C or S. In most of the time we utilize for payment of CGST payable only, then we utilize for SGST payable. So IGST credit will be utilized for CGST for making payment of CGST. So CGST payable was 1296 and IGST credit was 2160. So obviously we will not use the entire, we'll use that much credit only which is required. So we'll use just 1296. So CGST payable, there is no CGST payable to central government, it is nil. Then SGST payable is 1296. Now we have what is the remaining IGST credit? 2160 minus 1296. 2160 was the total IGST credit and 1296 is the credit. We have deducted 1296 because it is you already set off with adjustment is already done with CGST payable. So net IGST credit is 864. So less credit of IGST 864. So net the SGST payable to state government is 432. So ultimately in this case supplier has to pay to the state government only 432. Now see what adjustment will take place. In this case central government will transfer IGST credit of 864 utilized in the payment of SGST to state 2. In this case, in earlier case, state has to transfer to the central government because SGST credit was used. In this case IGST credit is used. So central government will transfer to state government. Understood? Central government will transfer this 864 utilized in payment of SGST to state 2, not state 1. State 2 is the importing state, na? To state 2. Means it's a destination based tax, that's why. Now again note they have given 18%. Now this is the final statement based on 3 cases of illustration 2. See, first transaction was between X and A. So when goods were supplied by X to A, then revenue was 900 and 900. See scenario 1. Sorry, illustration. See, illustration 2, first scenario is CGST SGST amount 900. That is the 900 payable. Statement of revenue. See, the second was supply of goods or services by A to B. In second scenario, net amount payable was 360. See, IGST payable to government was 360 because we utilized 1800 credit. So net was payable, net IGST payable was 360. So 360 is the revenue of central government. So 360 will write under this column central government. Now as a result of the second scenario, second transaction, what was the transfer that was made? Transfer was made by state to center, I guess. See the second scenario. In the second scenario, this 900 SGST was utilized. This 900 SGST was supposed to be paid by state to center. So 900 will get deducted from center column, means deducted from state column, and it will get added to central column, central government column. See, transfer by state 1 to center. Then third transaction. As a result of third transaction, net tax means net SGST payable to state government was 432. So 432 will write under that column, third column, state 2 column 432. Now in this case, what was the transfer made? Transfer was made by center to state. So 864 will get deducted from center and it will get added to state 2 column. So see the ultimate revenue to central government is 1296 and ultimate revenue to state 2 is 1296. So what is the tax amount of last transaction? See the last transaction. In last transaction, tax amount was 1296 only, and that is only the ultimate tax that is to be, means ultimate tax burden is borne by final consumer. So this is the tax burden that is borne by the final consumer 1296, and 1296 is only the ultimate revenue of center and state. And the tax is charged, as we can see from the sum, the tax is charged at each stage, and tax is charged from manufacture level to consumption level, and tax is charged only on value addition. Final tax is borne by the consumer. So this is clearly reflected in the sum. So first was based on intrastate, second was based on interstate supply. So this completes our illustration. Now we'll move to exercise. This test your knowledge. Altogether 10 questions are there. So let's do one by one. Question number 1. List some of the benefits that GST2 accrues to the economy. This question we have already done while discussing the chapter. So let's read this again. GST accrues following benefits to the economy. First is creation of unified national market. Second is boost to Make in India initiative. And third one is enhance investment and employment. So creation of unified national market. GST has made India a common market with common tax rates and procedures. Further, it has removed the economic barriers, resulting in an integrated economy at the national level. So as there is a common tax rate, common procedure, infrastructure is much more simplified. So this has led to a creation of unified national market. So this is the benefit of GST. That is a benefit to the economy because of GST. Second benefit is boost to Make in India initiative. How come? GST has given a major boost to the Make in India initiative of the government of India by making goods and services produced in India competitive in the national as well as international market. This will make India a manufacturing hub. How the goods in India is that is competitive in the national as well as international market? Because tax rate is much more simplified, and tax rate now because of GST, with the help of GST implementation, cost of manufacturing has been reduced. The price of goods has been reduced because too much taxes are not there in this GST regime. So this has made the Indian goods competitive in the national as well as international market. Okay. Second point is enhance investment and employment. The subsuming of major central and state taxes in GST complete and comprehensive set-off of input tax on goods and services and phasing out of central sales tax has reduced the cost of locally manufactured goods and services. Resultantly, the competitiveness of Indian goods and services in the international market has increased, which has given boost to investments and Indian exports. With a boost in exports and manufacturing activity, more employment is likely to be generated and GDP is likely to be increased. Same thing, because the price of goods has been reduced, with the cost of locally manufactured goods has been reduced. Because of this, it has given boost to Make in India initiative, as well as it has led to enhanced investment and employment opportunities. Okay, because with the boost in exports and manufacturing activity, obviously more employment will be generated, GDP will be increased. So this is the benefit that GST accrue to the economy. Second question is, explain with the help of example how a particular transaction of goods and services is taxed simultaneously under CGST and SGST. So you have to explain this with the help of an example, with the help of illustration. See, the central GST and state GST is levied simultaneously on every intra-state supply of goods or services, or both, made by registered person. When a registered person makes any supply any goods or services within the state, then CGST, SGST is levied simultaneously, except in case of exempted goods and services, as well as goods and services which are outside the purview of GST. Further, both are levied on the same price or value. The same can be understood with the help of example. You have to explain with the help of example how central means how CGST and SGST is charged simultaneously on the supply on the same value. So they have given two examples. Read once. So you can make any hypothetical example in exam. Suppose that the rate of CGST is 10% and that of SGST is 10%. When a wholesale dealer of steel in Uttar Pradesh in UP supplies steel bars and rods to a construction company which is also located within the same state. Means a wholesale dealer is there in UP. He is supplying steel bars and rods to a construction company which is also located in UP for say 100 rupees. The dealer would charge CGST 10 and SGST 10 in addition to the basic price of goods. Means he'll charge 100 is the basic price and he'll charge 10 rupees. Means he'll charge 120. Now he would be required to deposit, he means this wholesale dealer, the supplier would be required to deposit the CGST component into the central government account, while SGST portion into the account of the concerned state government, that is UP. As it is a destination based tax, it is the consumption state is UP only, so it will be deposited in the UP government account. It is important to note that he might not actually pay 20 in cash, as he would be entitled to set off this liability against CGST or SGST paid on his eligible purchases, assuming that all his purchases are intrastate. Okay, we are assuming that wholesale dealer is not the first state supplier. He have some input taxes, so he'll take the benefit of those input taxes and he'll deposit the net tax to the respective government account. However, for paying CGST, he would be allowed to use only credit of CGST paid on his purchases, while for UP GST, he can utilize the credit of UP GST alone. We all know that. We have seen this in some also in illustration. In other words, CGST credit cannot in general be used for payment of SGST, nor can SGST credit be used for payment of CGST, as one is central levy and one is state levy. Okay. Now in example 2, what they have given, suppose again the rate of CGST 10% and say that of SGST is 10%. When an advertising company located in Mumbai supplies advertising services to a company manufacturing soap also located within the state of Maharashtra, means a company is there, advertising company in Mumbai, he is supplying advertising services to a company which is also located in Maharashtra, same state, 100 rupees is the value, and the company charge GST 10 as well as SGST 10 at the basic value. He would be required to deposit the CGST component into a central government account, while Maharashtra's GST portion to the account of Maharashtra government. He might not actually pay 20 in cash, as it would be entitled to set off the liability against CGST or SGST paid on his eligible purchases, say of inputs such as stationery, office equipment, services of an artist, assuming that all his purchases are intrastate. Okay, he'll utilize the input tax and then he'll pay the net tax. However, for paying CGST, he would be allowed to use only the credit of CGST paid on its purchase, while for Maharashtra GST, he can utilize the credit of Maharashtra GST alone. In other words, CGST credit cannot in general be used for payment of SGST, nor can SGST credit be used for payment of CGST. You know why they have given two examples. In first example, they have explained that that supplier is supplying goods, and second example they have given supplier is supplying services. Both are the example of intrastate supply, because question was only based on intrastate supply. Okay, in first example they have explained by goods is when goods is supplied, then how this tax will be imposed, and second example they have shown of services. As simple as that. Third question: why was the need to amend the Constitution of India before introducing the GST? Why Constitution of India was amended before introducing GST? It was required to get amended. Why? See, earlier the fiscal powers between the centre and the states were clearly demarcated in the constitution, with almost no overlap between the respective domains. The centre had the power to levy tax on the manufacture of goods, except alcoholic liquor for human consumption, opium, narcotics, etc. In this cases, excise duty is charged. And then while the state had the power to levy tax on the sale of goods, in case of interstate sale, the centre had the power to levy central sales tax, but the tax was collected and retained entirely by the states. As for services, it was the centre alone that was empowered to levy service tax. So this was a problem in that earlier tax regime. See, introduction of GST necessitated the amendments in the constitution so as to simultaneously empower. This simultaneous empowerment was not there. Simultaneous empowerment to centre and state was not there in the earlier regime. That was the need to amend the constitution so as to simultaneously empower the centre and state to levy and collect this tax. The Constitution of India was amended by Constitution Act 2016 for this purpose. Article 246A of the Constitution introduced thereby empower the central and state to simultaneously levy and collect the GST. So to empower both central and state simultaneously, this amendment was required. Okay. Now question number 4. GST is a destination based tax on consumption of goods or services or both. Discuss the validity of the statement. GST is a destination based tax. Now you have to discuss whether the statement is valid or not. Obviously it is valid. See the answer what they have written. Once you are done with the chapter, once you have done the chapter thoroughly, then these questions are very simple to answer. The given statement is valid. GST is a destination based tax on consumption of goods or services or both. GST is known as destination based tax since the tax would accrue to the taxing authority which has the jurisdiction over the place of consumption, which is also termed as a place of supply. Where the goods are actually consumed, GST is payable to that government account. Okay, earlier it was GST was paid on manufacturing of goods, means the state which used to manufacture that goods, it was the tax was, that tax would go to the revenue, would become the revenue of that government, of that state government. But in this case, in GST regime, it's a destination based tax, means the revenue goes to the state which is state where the goods are actually consumed. So it is a destination based tax. For example, if A in Delhi produces the goods and sells the goods to B in Haryana, means goods is produced in Delhi and it is sold in Haryana. In this case, the tax would accrue to the state of Haryana, as it is because goods are actually consumed in Haryana, so tax would accrue to the state of Haryana and not to the state of Delhi. On the other hand, under pre-GST regime, origin-based taxation was prevailing in such cases. Under origin-based taxation, what happens? The tax used to accrue to the state from where transaction originated, and as per pre-GST regime, not pre-GST, just where the transaction gets originated from Delhi. So as per pre-GST regime, the tax would accrue to the Delhi. In the given case, under origin-based taxation, the central sales tax would have been levied by centre and collected by the state of Delhi and not by the state of Haryana. Okay, so at present, means in GST regime it is destination based tax, and in earlier regime the tax would accrue to the state where the transaction was originated, like Delhi. Okay, now fifth question. Question number 5. Discuss the leviability of GST or otherwise on the following. We have to discuss whether GST is leviable or not. Now first case is alcoholic liquor for human consumption. This is outside the purview of GST. See first one. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside the real means purview of GST. The manufacture or production of alcoholic liquor continues to be subjected to state excise duty, and interstate or intrastate sale of the same is subjected to CST or VAT respectively. Means in case of this is subjected to excise duty, but in case of interstate sale CST is charged, and in case of intrastate sale VAT is charged. Okay. So this is the scenario for alcoholic liquor for human consumption at present. Now second case is petroleum, crude, diesel, petrol, ATF and natural gas, means HP-man. In this case, as regards petroleum, crude, diesel, petrol, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas are concerned, they are not presently leviable to GST. GST will be levied on these products from a date to be notified on the recommendation of the GST Council. Till now the date has not been notified, so till now there is no GST on these items. Till such date, central excise duty continues to be levied on manufactured production of petroleum, crude, diesel, petrol, ATF and natural gas, and interstate or intrastate sale of same is subjected to CST or VAT respectively. Now third case is tobacco. Tobacco is within the purview of GST. That is, GST is leviable on tobacco, but what is there? However, Union government has also retained the power to levy excise duty on tobacco and tobacco products manufactured in India. So resultantly, tobacco is subjected to GST as well as central excise duty. Okay, both GST and central excise duty is imposed on tobacco at present. Now last case is opium, Indian hemp and other narcotic drugs and narcotics. Opium, Indian hemp and other narcotic drugs and narcotics are within the purview of GST. That is, GST is leviable on them. However, like the case of tobacco, in this case also, however, state government has also retained the, in that case, in tobacco, Union government has retained the power. In this opium, this narcotic drugs case, state government has also retained the power to levy excise duty on such products manufactured in India. Resultantly, opium, Indian hemp and other narcotic drugs and narcotics are subjected to GST as well as state excise duties. Okay, both GST and state excise duty is charged, and in case of tobacco, GST as well as central excise duty is charged. So this completes our question number 5. Now question number 6. Under GST, only value addition is taxed and burden of tax is to be borne by final consumer. Examine the statement. This was clearly seen in that illustrations, in both illustrations in fact. See the answer. The statement is correct. GST is a destination based tax on consumption of goods and services. It is levied at all stages, right from manufacture to final consumption, with credit of taxes paid at previous stages available as set off. The taxes which is paid at the earlier stage, that is available as set off, means input tax credit. Resultantly, only value addition is getting taxed and burden of tax is to be borne by the final consumer. Now question number 7. Which are the commodities which have been kept outside the purview of GST? Examine the status of taxation of such commodities after introduction of GST. Simple question. Question number 7. Article 366 1(2)(a) means Article 366 subsection 12(a) of the Constitution as amended by 101st Constitutional Amendment Act 2016 defines GST as a tax on supply of goods or services or both. This article, this 366 subsection 12(a), this article defines GST as a tax on supply of goods or services or both, except supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Okay, this is not covered in this article. Therefore, alcoholic liquor for human consumption is kept out of GST by way of definition of GST in Constitution. 5 petroleum products, that is petroleum, crude, motor spirit, that is petrol, high speed diesel, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel, have temporarily been kept out of purview of GST. GST Council shall decide the date from which they shall be included in GST. The erstwhile taxation system, means the earlier taxation system, the CST or VAT and central excise, still continues in respect of the said commodities. Okay, we know the this status of this items. Alcoholic liquor, see alcoholic liquor, what is the status? It's given away as state excise duty, and in interstate and intrastate CST VAT is charged, and in case of this 5 petroleum products, it is outside the purview of, means it's not outside the purview of GST. It is GST will be levied when it will get notified. In this 5 items, in this petroleum products also, this excise duty is charged and CST VAT is charged. Okay, so this thing, if you want to add this A and B point in this answer, in 7 answer, you can add in this answer number 7. Now question number 8. A dual GST has been implemented in India. Elaborate. Dual GST means both center and state. When center and tax will be levied by both center and state simultaneously. That is dual GST model. See what they have written. Answer number 8. A dual GST has been implemented in India with the center and state simultaneously levying it on a common tax base. The GST levied by the center on intrastate supply of goods and or services is called the CGST, and that levied by states or union territory is called SGST or UTGST. Similarly, IGST is levied and administered by center on every interstate supply of goods and or services. Simple. Now, India is a federal country where both the center and states have been assigned the power to levy and collect tax through appropriate legislation. Both the levels of government have distinct responsibilities to perform according to the division of powers prescribed in the Constitution, for which they need to raise resources. A dual GST therefore keeps with the constitutional requirement of fiscal federalism. Okay. You must write this line that center and state simultaneously levied on a common tax base. Yeah. Simple answer, plain reading category answer. Now question number 9. Discuss Article 269A pertaining to levy and collection of GST on interstate supply. Many articles and many constitutional amendment in detail, that all the key changes in detail was given in the chapter. I said that it's a plain reading category chapter, so it's not possible to remember all the what is given in which article, but you must remember this two article 269A and 246A, because as this is given in the question, so you must remember these two articles properly. Else rest article you can just give a plain reading. Discuss Article 269A pertaining to levy and collection of GST on interstate supply. What is given in 269A? Let's read. Article 269 of Constitution stipulates that GST on supplies in the course of interstate trade or commerce shall be levied and collected by the Government of India, and such tax shall be apportioned between the Union and States in the manner as may be provided by the Parliament by law on the recommendation of GST Council. In case of interstate supply, we know IGST is charged, and it's a central levy. So the amount will be, the tax will be get a portion between the center and state, and it will get a portion in the manner as provided by the Parliament on the recommendation of GST Council. Here, supply of goods or services or both in the course of import into the territory of India shall be deemed to be supply of goods or of services or both in the course of interstate trade or commerce. This import is also covered in interstate trade. The amounts apportioned to a state shall not form part of the consolidated fund of India. Means the amount that is apportioned to the state, that will not form part of the consolidated fund of India. And consolidated fund of India represents the revenue of the government. Where the amount collected as IGST has been used for the payment of SGST or vice versa, such amount shall not form part of consolidated fund of India or state respectively. This we have seen in the illustration. Means when an amount that is collected IGST that has been utilized for payment of SGST, that will not form part of the consolidated fund of India. And when the amount of SGST has been used for the payment of IGST, that will not form part of the state, consolidated fund of state. So this is to facilitate transfer of funds between the center and the states. Now Parliament is empowered to formulate the principles for determining the place of supply and when a supply of goods or of services or both takes place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. When interstate trade or commerce takes place, means when interstate supply takes place, and when in case of place of supply, Parliament is been empowered to formulate the principles for this. Now last question number 10. Discuss Article 246A, which grants the power to make laws with respect to goods and services tax. This Article 246A stipulates that Parliament and legislature of every state have power to make laws with respect to goods and services tax imposed by the Union or by such state. This Parliament and state legislature, means legislature of every state, has the power to make laws with respect to this GST. Parliament has the exclusive power to make laws with respect to goods and service tax, where the supply of goods or service tax or both takes place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. In case of interstate trade or commerce, Parliament has the exclusive power. However, in respect to petroleum, crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel, the aforesaid provision shall apply from a date to be notified by the government on the recommendation by the GST Council. Means the above provisions will apply from the date to be notified by the government on the recommendation of GST Council in respect of this 5 petroleum products. Okay, so this completes our question answers also of chapter 1. Hope you all have understood. Okay, hopefully next video will start new chapter, because there is nothing left in this chapter. We have done the provisions, we have done the question answers also. Okay, so if you have understood this chapter, then if this chapter of this video is beneficial for you all, then please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Okay, thank you, bye bye, take care.